Welcome to C Talks. I'm your host, Sandeep Alur. I've always stayed curious to understand how some of the top leaders went about strategizing, innovating, and brought about a change for their businesses. So, in this podcast series, it is my effort to unearth real stories, practical tips, and valuable lessons from top leaders. So, subscribe to C Talks today and join the conversations. I hope you find these conversations meaningful. So, let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome to C Talks. I'm your host Sandeep Alur. And my guest for today is Alex Arnold, Head of Technology and Data at Marlborough Group, Manchester, UK. Alex, welcome to C Talks.
Hey Sandeep, thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful, it's great to see you. Alex, jumping right in, first question. Now you started a career as a C++ and Java developer, right? And of course you moved up the ranks to operate as Head of Technology now. In your work life, do you still think like a developer, and is it required for the relatability as a leader?
Oh, great question. So the short answer is yes. A great developer can become a great leader. There's really two paths that a developer grows. There's the classic VP in engineering path, the technical path,
Right.
and then the people leadership path. So let's talk about the people leadership. So there's some transferable skills that a great developer has that absolutely puts them in great stead as a leader. Firstly is being an artist. You know, the art of innovation, the art of science. When I code, I'm putting my personal style, my personal artwork into my code. My code should look beautiful. That's really what innovation is, and that's what a leader can achieve. Secondly, is business domain knowledge. If I know the business domain as good or better than the business, then I can deliver fantastic solutions that are in line with the strategy.
Right.
Then there's discipline. If I can be laser focused, with my headphones on, coding away, then equally having that laser focus when if I have to be data oriented, I have to be really in the detail and think and have that thinking time. That's a critical skill for a leader also. And finally, I'd say accountability. A developer who owns their stuff, who knows that the quality of my code is sat with me, the delivery of my code is sat with me, the buck stops with me. That's a fantastic attribute of a leader.
Wonderful. That means the answer is yes. Each of us as technology leaders should think like a developer inside while we're actually taking large-scale transformation projects. Absolutely. Next question, Alex. Now, we are on a fast track when it comes to technology innovation. I think pace of innovation is something which we've never seen what's happening right now. As a technology leader, while you're up to date on innovations, how do you decide which innovation is something you will actually implement in your organization? So what's your process or a formula there?
Yeah, it's great. So I'll talk generally first. Now, financial services, we are all about guarding regulations, the spirit of the regulations, and our consumers. So the perfect solutions in financial services would be where we're adding a high value add and low risk. Almost never would we jump on bleeding edge technology. It's too risky. So typically what we would do, we'd have to have a process, an organizational process to do risk assessments. That might be a proof of concept, that might be small in the beginning, and then if it's successful, it would get more funding and then grow from that. In larger enterprises, we might have dedicated innovation labs as well for that purpose.
Right.
So some examples of that I've been aware of, been involved with. We had to scale our database technology some years ago, but extreme storage requirements, extreme performance requirements, and we spent months and months trialing different database technologies. In that particular case, we came up with MongoDB at the end, but not before massive amount of testing along the way. By the end, we had a clear risk profile of what we're getting ourselves into. A second example was we were re-architecting and we were putting in place event-based processing. There we proof of concept various technologies. In the end, the technology that took us forward was Apache Kafka. Now, we tested and tested, and some months later, we actually killed that proof of concept because it no longer, for various reasons, was in line with our particular business strategy at the end of the trial. So you see that we have to be aware of all of the cutting edge technologies, but we can only act when it's truly in line with our business strategy.
Wonderful, that's great. I think assessing risk becomes critical because of the fact that you're in financial services world, right? Absolutely. Next one, Alex. Now, I know for the fact that you basically have a vision as an organization when it comes to technology roadmap, right? But of course, expectation from business is short-term results. So how do you balance short-term results considering the long-term vision you have as an organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's the constant nightmares that all CTOs and heads of technologies have. So I'll start off with a baseline. I've seen work overstaffing. What do I mean? So it's all about the people, but if you right size your staff, what you'll do on a good day is you'll deliver, and on a bad day there's a chance you could go backwards. If you overstaff somewhat, then on that bad day you'll deliver, but on the good day you'll be focused on continuous improvement, future strategic growth, which is really, really important. So I'll just reflect back onto the call it the CTO's journey. So when a CTO is either promoted or goes into a new firm, there's so many things they're responsible for. There's a lot of conflicting priorities. Everything's urgent, everything's important. In that phase of the CTO's life cycle, they just have to get stuff done. Planning vision is important, but delivering and seeing results, the staff have to see results, the board have to see results. That's the focus. In this phase, there is a chance the CTO can burn out. If we pass that phase, we get to what I call the growth phase. In this phase, we're stabilizing. So there, you're hiring great leaders around you. Now, in that time, you're also building strength in process and velocity in delivery. So it might be the time when you're instituting things like ISO 27001 and other cyber controls and governance around process and quality. I was given a one-liner. One of my early hiring managers says, when I hire someone, I want them to be better than me. And as a one-line mantra, that's quite a good litmus test when you're trying to hire leaders around you. And then finally, when you reach scale, and you're actually bearing lots and lots of fruits, that's harmonization. So there you can do major transformations. You can work on data-driven innovation. This is when AI can really take fold. You can enter into public ecosystems like open source. Here's where you see what people call the flywheel of innovation. You've got the chance, you've got the structure, you've got the strength, and you've got the velocity. You can drive change in and out of the business. And ultimately, the phrase that I like is, you can count the seeds in an apple, but you can't count the apples in a seed. Innovation is, you can structure your innovation, you can plan it, you can propose it, but what comes out of it, you never quite know. But with that flywheel, you get the best results.
Awesome. I heard the flywheel fundamentals very recently, so glad you brought it up. I think the velocity and the people, I think it's a classic story of how two swim lanes will come together at some point, right? Thanks so much, Alex, for that. Next one, this should be an interesting one, considering you're in the financial services world, highly regulated, right? And you have to be always risk averse. Now, when it comes to instilling a culture of innovation within a team, right? How do you, put a boundary? Because bleeding edge technology, everybody wants to try their hands on, right? You want to embrace that. So how do you ensure innovation doesn't stop just because you're in a regulated environment, but the culture innovation continues? What's your strategy there?
Yeah, so I always have to say in financial services, we're allowed to take high risks with my money, but I can't take risks with consumers' money. So like you said, we are risk adverse in that manner. But innovation still works. We just have to have great risk management and great change management. There's two ideas I thought of that I really like. The first one is bite-sized innovation. This is regular incremental innovation. I once did the calculation, 101% improvements is much more than 100 at the end of it. So it accumulates to great innovation. What do you get? Well, all of the people around you, staff, stakeholders, leaders, they see the innovation is happening. that builds a flavor of culture. And once it's repetitive, it becomes ingrained in people's mindset. And the other benefit of doing those incremental innovations is the fast feedback loop. If you do a small innovation, you're gonna do fast learning, which is the key to getting innovation right. I was introducing Agile into one of my teams, and we could have done it a giant step, but instead what we did is we cherry picked what we could introduce at different stages, and it worked really well. Yes, we came up with a classic Wagile, waterfall and Agile combination, the best combination for that team, their skill set and the business objectives. But the thing that I saw worked the best was the retrospectives. So regular sitting around a table or a virtual table and talking about what we could do better as a team, and then building that into the next process was fantastic. And the second thing is growth mindset. So I try and encourage regular team brainstorms. It tells my teams that I want them to think out of the box, and it's highly desired and respected. Less regular things could be like annual hackathons, that kind of celebration culture of innovation. We've done something similar with quarterly manager brainstorms, where mid-managers or senior managers will get together and try and solve problems in a fun and dynamic way. But actually, there's one more thing, which is individual growth. So you and me know very well, we just finished 1 year of studying at the Cambridge Judge Business School, the CTO program. Now, I don't think I slept much that entire year. It was a lot of hard work. But what did I get from it? I learned new ways of thinking. I learned so many case studies about how companies were successful and failed. So I could learn from that. And I built a fantastic personal network as well.
Fantastic, Alex. In fact, you brought in that bite-sized innovation, the concept of innovating via hackathons and celebrating technology. I think that culture is so essential to thrive in the modern world. Thank you so much for the perspective, Alex. Now, interestingly, you've dealt with large transformation projects in your career, and you've basically managed projects in a multicultural, multi-regional situations, right? On-site, offshore model. Now, what's your strategy? What strategies work for you to make sure people across different cultures pretty much align to your vision and they collaborate with utmost focus and outcomes? So what has worked for you?
Yeah, so you can be efficient with process, but you cannot be efficient with people. So remote trust is hard. You need that trust. So how do I build it? One method I use is personal stories. So at the beginning of calls, trying to introduce what you did that day, what you did last night, family matters, childhood matters, likes, dislikes, things that are social. That regular interaction helps in a remote working environment. And of course, I've worked in remote working environments now for more than 15 years. So I have a great story actually that speaks this out. I was giving a board presentation about strategy, and at the time it was during COVID, and my young son came into my office at home. He climbed on the back of my chair while I was presenting. He climbed on my shoulders. He was waving to the people on the screen. But this was my slot. I had to present to the board members. So I got on with it. And I do think off the back of these sorts of personal experiences, people respect you more, and you have a better communication off the back of it. The second thing I'd say is talk first. It's something, it's a mantra I put very hard. Even across time zones, where possible, people should be calling before they're typing. So we often see multinational companies, we do offline code reviews or offline document reviews, and they might be efficient in process, but you don't build the collaboration and the trust that the culture really needs to be strengthened. And finally, I would say face-to-face time is important. You can't get away from it. So long-term remote isolated working does not work. It's not effective. So I'll give you an example. I was running a 12-month project with a team in Pune in India. And partway through, I spent a week in Pune, and we used it for brainstorms, for knowledge share, for just socializing. The last part of that project, when I was back in London, the communication was better, the process was, everything was more natural. We couldn't describe it. The fact that we had that interaction face to face and we experienced each other as people was better. Another example is rotation. So we rotated staff. We had people coming for say 6 or 12 months to the London office, and that made a big difference. That fixed that cultural divide, so that we have sort of an internationally accepted culture. We did something similar with moving people. So we moved people where them and their families desired. We moved people from London to New York, London to India, India to London, and those people became culture champions. So that helped.
Wow, that's so profound, Alex. Culture champions. Infusing that into large teams absolutely helps. So thank you so much for that. In fact, I love what you said in terms of talk first culture. Doesn't matter, which geography, which culture you come from, but just speak up. That helps. You don't have to basically align to any protocols here. Absolutely love that. My final question. I ask this question to every leader that I meet up. Now, what's your superpower?
Okay. So it's a strength. I treat people like my family. So what do I mean? Family leadership. So in a family, in an effective family, there should be intrinsic trust and loyalty. And that's fundamental. If you and me are working together and we know that come what may, we're together on this, then so many problems are pushed aside before they even pop their heads up. Now, it means I can be a more effective coach, because if I'm coaching you, you and me know that I'm with you in this. So anything I say to you, you'll accept more, and you'll be more open to discuss it and consider it. It leads to better collaboration because we're all part of the same team. We're not going anywhere. Right. And it also means in heated negotiations that if everyone knows we're not coming out of this room till we solve this problem, and we want to solve it. We're a family. We're more likely to find a win-win solution. I got told that someone noticed I never get annoyed, even in heated debates. And my take on that is, why would I get annoyed? We're in it together. What we come out with should be better as a result of coming together. So family leadership, I think, is my personal power.
Wonderful. Love that, Alex. In fact, we always use the statement in larger team meetings, etc., saying we're one family, but family leadership is probably I take away as a big learning from this conversation of mine with you, Alex. Thank you so much for your time today. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Real pleasure. You take care.